You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhaeghe was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Ritchie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
Welcome into another Niagara IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all four of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live tonight on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell to stay up to date with all of our live coverage, as well as those listening the next day on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are with you to break down the IceDogs' 7-4 defeat at the hands of the rival Barrie Colts here on a rare Tuesday night home game in front of 3,878 fans. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So, Cam, the IceDogs, the last game against Kingston, get that late goal for Matthew Paris to earn the 1 point they needed with the Ottawa 67's regulation loss to clinch their first playoff berth since 2018-19 season. So these last 5 or 6 games of the season here are really just for seeding and to try to figure some things out. We know Owen Flores' return is going to be imminent, and this could possibly be a first-round matchup for the IceDogs. So it was kind of a good learning experience for them.
No doubt, and again, want to start by saying, first playoff appearance in 5 seasons now, I believe, and just great to see the IceDogs finally getting back into the playoffs here, and going to be great for not just the team and the players, but also the city. So awesome, can't wait for that first-round matchup, but you alluded to it. It does look like after today's finals and just what's going on around the league, Sudbury was able to beat Brampton tonight to move up 3 points ahead of the IceDogs currently with a game in hand. So it looks like the IceDogs are all but set for a collision with Barrie in the first round, and it just so happens that the final game of the season on March 22nd is in Barrie. So to add more to that hostility in for two divisional rivals, looks like they're just going to add a little bit more to it with that final regular season game. But overall, I think it was a great 40 minutes. It's still an undermanned roster. The IceDogs not playing with a full complement of forwards, forward and on defense as well, with Aerosmith as well as Scott out for the IceDogs, and then obviously still no Owen Flores, but you did mention that he is on his way back. But that being said, it was a good 40 minutes, and the IceDogs showed that they can definitely keep up with Barrie, but that final period, as we've seen over the last month, almost 2, it's awfully tough for the IceDogs to play a full 60 minutes.
Yeah, and who knows what the lineup would even look like in that final game. If both Barrie and Niagara are locked in, we could see basically everybody's taxi squads in that final game. So this one was more so of what we may see come a playoff matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I would expect that DeWatcher gets in, as well as Hotless, who played tonight, and maybe even Dayanov. But yeah, and more, I don't know what they'll do in net. Maybe just getting Flores ready, obviously him missing, but given the fact that, if he goes down, things are all but, I don't want to say all but over, but it gets monumentally more difficult against Barrie, a really loaded up Barrie team in that first round, so especially because they are going to start on the road. But that being said, exciting times in Niagara again. Obviously not the best last 6 weeks leading up to tonight, but they did lock up a playoff spot, and we said in September that's the goal, and they achieved it.
We'll hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau a little bit later on the Wild Bills auto repair post-game, touching on a few things you just mentioned there. But we'll start things off tonight with our prep list, brought to you by Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano. You tried the best, right? Now why not try the best? Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, proudly serving the Niagara community since 2013. Check them out at carmine'spizzeria.ca for the best quality pizza and wing combos anywhere in Niagara. Cam, go ahead and break down quickly the lineup for us tonight for the IceDogs.
Like I mentioned, Hotless drew in for Blake Aerosmith, as well as Blair Scott not able to play tonight, so DeWatcher jumped in on the decor. So the first line is what we've seen for the last few games, really, and that is Kevin He with Asadorian and as his center, flanked by Matthew Paris, and obviously Paris being the hero to clinch that playoff berth with that big goal about 16 seconds to go against Kingston. Obviously them falling in overtime wasn't ideal, but it was huge for them to battle back and get that single points to take some pressure off of the team. Second line has really been a mainstay for a little while now, and that is Robrick, Zada, and Waslin. And then the third unit of Crete, Loshko, and Sean Doherty. Fourth line rounded out by Levin Gallianov and Charlie Hotless. On the defensive side of things, not the regular pairs. We saw Van Vliet with Virgilio, not his usual partner in Wysick. And then, excuse me, you had Wysick with Jack Brody, and then you had Chanowski with DeWatcher. So not a lot of ice time for that third pair. A lot of Virgilio and Van Vliet tonight with Humphreys in net. So still waiting the return of Owen Flores.
Yep, and Hayden Jeffrey didn't dress tonight, so Lincoln Stinson-Curse was the backup tonight for Matthew Humphreys, who again, we want to see Matt Humphreys get his first win so badly. He's 0 for 7 right now, but again, when you look at some of the starts that he's had, 1-goal games here and there, thrown in some really tough situations, you just feel for this young guy because you know that how much potential he has in his OHL career here and how high the IceDogs are on him that, hopefully he can get his first win by the end of the year here.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty easy finish back-to-back. Well, we finish out with a 3-3, but the 3 is Ottawa, North Bay, and then obviously that game in Barrie. Which I would assume that you really don't see a lot. And like I mentioned coming into this one, it looks like we're locked into the 7 seed. As it stands right now, North Bay is 9 points back of Niagara. So with, I believe, 6 games to go, I really don't see how they would be able to do that. So it legit looks like, unless Barrie can catch and pass Brantford, I don't really see how we are going to get a different matchup. So with that being said, we've got a great opportunity with Ottawa and North Bay, teams that are struggling this season. Obviously, the IceDogs are right around, falling around as well. But a good opportunity at the end of the season for Humphreys to potentially get his first win.
We'll get into it with our game stats tonight, brought to you by Gales Gas, your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. And that's a gas station, they're a local tradition because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gales, multiple locations across Niagara. Cam, shots on net, IceDogs led in that category after the first 12-6. Then the Colts in the second period, 17-12. In the third period, IceDogs 18-13, but as we'll see in the scoring summary, it was lopsided in Barrie's favor in the goal department. It ends up 42-36 in favor of the IceDogs tonight.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job of getting the puck to the net. It wasn't a ton of high danger chances, but specifically on the power play, we did cash in on the power play. When the game was kind of out of reach, but nonetheless, I thought that they did a good job of getting the pucks towards the net, and especially some of the goals were just hammering the puck on net, and that's what you're going to need to do against this Barrie team. They're not going to give up a lot, and I thought they had a pretty underwhelming game defensively, and obviously they were missing Tristan Bertucci on that decor, because usually I barely noticed Keyshawn Aitchison, who is quickly become one of my favorite players to watch in the OHL. Every time he plays Niagara, he's just a marvel to watch. He's going to more than likely be a first-round pick in this year's NHL entry draft, and really didn't notice him at all. This was a big Gabriel Eliasson game.
Yeah, him and Ethan Zada exchanged pleasantries on many occasions in tonight's game, which we'll get into. As far as the power plays go, Cam, no penalties other than that offsetting 4-on-4 in the middle period until Jack Brody took the delay game penalty. That was the IceDogs' only minor penalty that led to a Barrie power play. Of course, they scored on the one power play they did have. IceDogs 1 for 2 on their 2 power plays, so not many power plays each end. The game was called, pretty tight in that sense. There wasn't. It felt like a playoff game where you're not going to get many power plays. So
I honestly didn't think there was. I thought it was a pretty clean game. There wasn't a lot after the whistles, things like that. I have a feeling that the next time they meet, knowing that they're going to more than likely be a playoff matchup. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out. There
could have been probably 2 penalties. I think it was the end of the second where Kevin He. Pretty good two-hand chop on Gabe Eliason, but then Gabe Eliason just tossed his stick in the corner to the referee. He could have gotten a
might have been offsetting there.
Yeah,
I thought they were going to get offsetting.
Neither of them got penalties on that play, but face-offs tonight, 27-27, so even in that sense, Niagara's best man on the dot tonight, Alex Asadorian, 9 of 16. Andre Loshko, 7 of 14, playing on the third line tonight. And then Ethan Zada, 6 of 13, and Ivan Galliena, 4 of 8. So everybody was basically almost riding at a 50% rate there, except for Alex Asadorian, a little bit better.
I thought the team played really well. Other than the early win in the season, I believe that was in the first month for sure against Barrie. I have to go back and double-check, but it just seems like Niagara has had such a hard time with Barrie, and I was talking to you about this a little bit during the game, that I just don't think they're a good matchup because I honestly would rather see the IceDogs play Oshawa. Oshawa has that high-end talent, but the IceDogs have the work ethic we saw against London. Barrie is just they have great players. That's not to say they don't have high-end talent, but they're just have to be one of the hardest working, just dog teams that are going to be in the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and you're not going to outwork them very much. You can make it even, but it is just going to be awfully tough, and obviously when we don't have Owen Flores in net, they have a massive advantage in goals as well. So it's going to be a rough matchup, but again, like we saw in that game against London, that is going to be one of those games that they can draw back on, that no matter the situation, they can beat any team.
Good 40 minutes tonight. They were right in this game.
It was great. That was surprising.
They were up 2-1.
Yeah, I thought that early on, Barrie did get a goal early, and I thought that this was going to be another ugly one from the start. And while the scoreboard definitely shows it, it didn't play out that way. Again, tied through, down by 1 through 40.
We'll get into our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at eht.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. We're not going to go through all of 11 goals tonight. We'll be here till midnight, but the Colts opened things up there where this was one Matt Virgilio was going to want back. Newton gets around him and just goes far side on Humphreys, and number 48, the second it happened, he skated back to the bench. He's a veteran in this league. He knows that he needs to be better on that play.
It's tough getting walked, and I got to be honest with you, there was a lot of the majority of these goals that Barrie did score, were second chances or slot chances. Like they'd be listed as high danger chances. It's okay for your goalie to make a tough save. It's hard to be tough on Humphreys, but obviously in that situation, it wasn't like it was a deke in tight. He beat Virgilio clean, and it was a shot from the face-off dot. That can be stopped, and I think that in a situation with Flores in net, he's probably going to stop that. But that being said, I do want to make it clear that Humphreys has improved over the last few games. I know the stats might not indicate it, but he definitely looks more confident in net. He's more confident playing the puck as well, and he is fighting to see the shots a lot more. And it's so difficult in this league for a 16-year-old to play, but goaltender's got to be the hardest position to play in this league as a 16-year-old. So I have to give him some credit there. But a tough one. Again, it wasn't a crazy shot, but it was a nasty move to get around Virgilio. And that one game. The first game was actually against Barrie. It was a 7-3 loss. Like I said, Barrie has just had their number, I think, this year.
Yeah, they definitely have. And you mentioned Matt Humphreys. Definitely was playing the puck a lot tonight, taking after Mike Smith. Looked like back there, was really active back there. I don't know if that's something he's gaining confidence with. But then the IceDogs were able to get the game tied at the 14:38 mark of the first period. And it was Kevin He with a tip off a face-off play from Matthew Paris.
Gentlemen. Thanks, Al. Asadorian on the draw. Against Patterson, back to the line. Here's Jack Brody. Brody sets it up. Asadorian gets a shot through. They score!
great. This is becoming more of a trend. We're starting to see some actual tip goals go in. We saw Galyanov with the biggest one of the season against London, and it's good to see because last year, how many times did we come on the post-game recaps and just say, man, we'd love to see just shots on net and get those ugly goals or tip plays, things like that, and we're actually starting to see them a little bit more, and that just makes the offense that much more dangerous when you've got some elite shooters, which the IceDogs do. It's good to see those kinds of goals, and nice to see Kevin get on the board again as he's really picked up his play over the last 10 or so games.
1-1 after the first. We get to the second period, 8:26 mark. The IceDogs actually take the lead, and it's Andre Lashko winning the draw directly to Sean Doherty for a beautiful one-timer goal.
Minute guys, outstanding tandem in net with Rebick and Hillebrand. One-timer, Doherty scores! Oh, he loves playing the Barrie Colts as Doherty's got his 13th of the season. Minute guys.
Audio goal highlights are courtesy of YourTV. Catch the IceDogs at home and on the road on YourTV Niagara, exclusively on Cogeco.
Loved this goal because this was just a classic hammer it towards the net off of a kind of a busted face-off. Doherty just walked in and ripped one, and it beat Hildebrand. So again, great goal on that one because that is what you're going to need to do against Barrie. You just got to fire it on net and see what happens. Cause a mess, and that was a clean one right through. So.
2 goals for the IceDogs off face-off plays. That's nice to see that they're able to get some things set up there. And then this is where the game started to turn. The IceDogs had a 2-1 lead. We get goals by Bo Akey and Dallin Wakely before the end of the second period. I feel like the IceDogs made 2 mistakes in that middle period, and Barrie capitalized on both of them.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen when you have guys that are, drafted players, things like that. You can't give up those kinds of mistakes. And there was a lot of... I don't know if it's because the D pairs were all changed, but there was a lot of defensive miscues, I think, that were avoidable and that you hadn't seen over the last little while, but unfortunately ends up in the back of the net for the IceDogs. Yeah,
it was Bo Akey and Dallin Wakely on those 2 goals. Then open up the third period because it was a 3-2 game. The Colts score on their only power play attempt when Jack Brody went off for the delay of game. It was Bo Jelsma getting the goal on the power play, walked in and kind of just got a cross-ice pass that I don't even know if the pass was intended for him, but it got over there, and Humphreys, tried to make a cross-ice save and just couldn't. But then the other goal that they scored was Romani.
Breakaway.
Yeah, on the breakaway, Dallin Wakely and Aitchison on that goal, and really, what can you do on some of those? The Colts' horses, pun intended, just kind of took over with 4 unanswered.
Yeah, and this is an unfortunate trend during the big losing streak, and really since the end of January, it's been a lot of the same issues that we've seen over the last couple years, where the games are close, they get down early with a goal in the period, in the third, and they just kind of wilt, and that's what's happening really. And again, you don't have your full roster, and obviously the team's playing a little bit different with Jeffrey as well as Humphreys and net. They've not as confident, maybe a little bit careful, and you're just not seeing that confidence that you saw earlier in the year when they would get down and nothing would change, right? And again, unfortunate turn of events, and it's really those early goals that are just killers, and they've given up so many of them this year. But specifically lately, it just looks like we're getting that, slumped over shoulders, not able to get back in it once they've given up that one goal. It's always usually a backbreaker, which wasn't the case earlier in the year.
Ethan Zada and Ryan Robrick go down on a 2-on-1. Zada tries to find Robrick on a cross-crease pass, but actually hits Kayshawn Aitchison, goes right back to Ethan Zada for his 20th, and that's good to see because he's kind of going through a little bit of a slump offensively since the calendar turned to 2025, so it's nice to see him get his 20th goal, and I think that's a nice milestone for him.
Absolutely, and definitely looks good going into the draft. You've got 20 goals, and you're willing to drop the gloves, and you're a heavy hitter, and definitely going to be a big pivotal part of the team. It's Zada, we talked about it. If we were to go back and listen to our first episode, I mentioned that if Zada can get 50 points this season and really kind of explode offensively, considering his rookie season was a little bit of a disappointment or feeling out. It was less offense and more about just trying to learn the game of being a centerman in the OHL. And this year he's really taken off, and he's given the IceDogs a massive boost down the middle, and definitely going to be a huge part of their future, especially going into his draft year. So we'll be looking at, knock on wood, another NHL drafted player to add to the lineup, which is just huge for the entire team. The confidence of the team, confidence of Zada. We talked about when Kevin got drafted, it would lead to players being more willing to come here, and the scouts will be in the building a little bit more, the more drafted players we've got, and we've got another good one in Zada.
Just felt like every time the IceDogs scored, the Colts would answer, and they did a minute later with a Van Steensel goal, a Romani goal later to cap it off, and then the IceDogs kind of in garbage time there getting their power play goal. Matthew Paris with his 7th of the season from Kevin He and Jack Brody.
Yeah, and again, like I said, the power play looked pretty good, but it was kind of late in the game, and don't know how much stock he can take in that one.
Absolutely. So 7-4 is the final in favor of the Barrie Colts. Anthony Romani finishes with 2 goals and assists as the first star. Dallin Wakely goal and 2 assists, second star, and Kevin He named the third star in the building, 1 goal, 1 assist. Should mention Darcy DeWatcher, the only plus IceDog tonight at +2. So a guy that doesn't really get any recognition and much playing time. It was nice to see number 24 get in there and be the IceDog's only plus player tonight.
Don't know how that happens, honestly. That's just the beautiful game.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back. We're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau, get his thoughts, and we'll get Cam's player of the game in just a little bit. So stay right here. We'll be right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Back after this.
Fuel up your day with Gale's Gas Bars. They're your go-to gas station in the Niagara region. Remember, at Gale's, they're not just a gas station, they're a local tradition. Whether you're hitting the road or staying cozy at home, choose Gale's. Gale's Gas Bars provide reliable fuel that keeps you moving. Stop in for quality you can trust and service with a smile. Don't settle for less. Head to Gale's Gas Bars today. Because when it comes to fuel, you're going to Gale's! Learn more at gales.ca.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicle is in top running condition through the garage's services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers can expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers who can feel confident they'll get trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your vehicles. To find out more or to book a service, contact them today at 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today, 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference.
Are you currently looking for work in the Niagara region? If so, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thorold Stone Road in Niagara Falls. Their many free services include a fully staffed resource area open to the public, resume and cover letter writing, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment, training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, and Better Jobs Ontario information and registration assistance. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983.
This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
This is Alex Asadorian.
Hey, it's Ryan Roberg.
This is Ivan Gallianov.
This is Matthew Virgilio.
My name's Jack Brody.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's Niagara IceDogs game recap, right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel, and those listening the next day in your favorite on-demand audio platform. Make sure you give us a follow at Dog Pound Podcast on X. Stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage and our short content as well on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Brandon Caputo and Cam Halbert are back with you, continuing to break down the IceDogs 7-4 defeat at the hands of the potent Barrie Colts here in a Central Division matchup here on a rare Tuesday night. Cam, before we get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau, his post-game comments, I was just looking at the schedule, and after that win against Erie on January 26th, you have a string of losses and a win against the London Knights, which is just incredible to think about, against the number 1 team in all the CHL. The IceDogs obviously earned that late point against Kingston, but it's just been such tough sledding for the last month or so for this team that you want to hope that they string a couple of wins together in their last 5.
It really feels like the prior few years. Every game. I remember the first month in here, we were doing the post-game shows, and it's hard to shake off the feeling. They finished last, or in the very bottom of the standings, haven't made the playoffs when all but 2 teams in each conference make the playoffs, and they went 5 seasons without it. So the first month, it was weird when they kept winning, and then they did it enough where it felt like it's weird when they lose. And I think they went a while without losing 3 in a row, and it just felt like, obviously, it was unsustainable. They were giving up the most goals in the Eastern Conference, but also scored the most. And eventually, they say defense wins championships. You can't outscore your problems, and that's essentially what happened. And when Flores went down, even before Flores went down, they were still losing. Flores was a part of that losing streak, but once that happened, it's awfully tough. You lose a lot of confidence, I'm sure, from the team, and they've got to battle through that. But the thing about hockey is you just got to, and pro sports or sports in general, you just got to get in. None of this matters. After March 22nd, they're in the playoffs, and if they play Barrie, none of it matters. Doesn't matter how they got in. It doesn't matter if they would have gone in reverse. Let's say they lost 12 games to start the season, right? They went full Peterborough early on, right? And the IceDogs had their finish that was the same, 8 weeks to start the season. We would be having a completely different tune, and they'd be in 7th spot in the exact same spot, but they were rattling off wins left and right? Would you feel more confident or less confident? Obviously more confident, but it doesn't matter how you get there. You just got to get in, and every time, like that London game was the most scheduled loss cookie night that you could have imagined, and that was probably the best I have seen them play since Akil Thomas was on the team. So it makes no sense. Sports is a great thing. That's why they play the games, and I think that once the playoffs start and the team gets going, I think that Barrie is... That first couple games, the first 2 games of that series are going to be very interesting, because if the IceDogs hang in, Barrie's probably going to think they've got an easy go in the first round, and I think that's when the IceDogs can really surprise them. So
every once in a while you say something and it just pops me, but you got a good one once in a while with that Peterborough line.
No disrespect to Peterborough, because I bet you any money that they go full Windsor next year and they go from last to first. It wouldn't surprise me. That's a great organization.
And it was funny when Darren DeDobler was on our show last week when he mentioned it's kind of, there's 2 seasons. There's the season before the trade deadline and after the trade deadline. It's definitely felt like a tale of 2 seasons.
That's really the issue. It isn't so much that the IceDogs got worse and they're going through this long streak and it was just overdue. It was the fact that Sudbury bought, which no one thought possible, going into the trade deadline, keeping Quentin Musty. Everyone thought that he was gone a month prior. He asked for a trade, didn't get to go. That happening. And then, Kingston, you had Oshawa and Barrie, obviously, beginning of the year. They got going. Brampton, for whatever reason, was the number 1 rated team in the country to start the season, and they were below 500 for the majority of the season. And obviously, the talented roster that they had would eventually figure it out. And then you have Brantford, who was hurt all year, and then they just got going.
And
they
then
got
Nick Lardis
healthy.
Is Connor McDavid.
The Nick Lardis 70 goals is absurd, right? So the Eastern Conference got so insanely difficult. And remember, there's only 10 teams. And the only 2 teams don't make the playoffs. That's Ottawa and that's Peterborough. And for whatever reason, the IceDogs had a hard time against both of them, right? So we said at the trade deadline, The IceDogs' best trade deadline situation would be if they didn't do anything. That is what they did. Unfortunately, the entire Eastern Conference loaded up, and that's just the reality of the situation. They're going to get playoff games for their very young team. They are still on one of the younger teams in the OHL, right? We're not losing a lot of players next year, and the championship window opens up next season, but it doesn't mean that the first round and going down hard or winning is not in the cards.
Yep, lick your wounds now because the next 2 seasons could be fun for the IceDogs. You mentioned the hard thing to do was to do nothing, and that's what they did, what they needed to do. We'll get to IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame. Brought to you by Wild Bills Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's what the IceDogs head coach had to say following his team's 7-4 defeat at the hands of the Barrie Colts.
What do you have some takeaways from that game today, just generally speaking?
I thought it was it's a good effort. 7 goals on 35 shots is tough, and you don't want to look at that, especially when you out-chance and out-shoot them. I'm not laying that on Humps' feet at all, so don't get that misconstrued. But it's tough to win games when you're giving up 7 goals against. So for us in the position that we're in, 6 games ago, we prioritized trying to develop some of the rookies here, finish in, 6, 7, 8 is where we're going to be. And so we're going to take this opportunity to try to get some guys in the lineup that wouldn't normally be in there otherwise. So hot list to watch her, obviously Humphreys, to watch her getting in there was our only plus player there tonight. So that's a benefit that came out of tonight.
For sure, yeah. And how important is it to try and finish strong here and go into the playoffs on a little bit more of a high than you're doing right now?
Yeah, nobody wants to back into the playoffs, and that's exactly what we've been doing for the last 2 months. So, it would be nice to have some sense of confidence. We got to find that within ourselves, rather than somebody wanting to give it to us. So, it comes from within, and got to make sure that we control what we can, and that's our effort level and our focus and our execution. So, if everybody can come bring that type of mentality to the rink, I think we'll have some success.
Yeah, you stayed with them for a good period, a good time there. What were you doing that you were able to play with them?
We were defensive-minded. There's no question. We were defensive-minded in a 7-goal against game. I think it's kind of ironic, but they scored 5 goals in the third. So through the first 40, we had the most opportunity to, we had scoring chances. We could have broke it open. They held it, Brant. Team USA World Junior goalie, really good. Gives them a chance, and their talent and their depth eventually took over. So that's a really good hockey team and a really high likely potential first-round opponent. And the way we played in the first 40 was good, but we need to play a 60-minute hockey game. 40 out of 60 is not going to cut it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you've got some time off now. So what do you work on now between now and Saturday?
We try to prepare, in the things that we did well and keep going on the things that we didn't. Right. And, we got a couple guys banged up, but Flores should be back in the net come Saturday. So that's something that we got to get them acclimated to.
I was going to ask you, even how important is it just for him to get a game or two? Because he's been off a long time. That's tough, right?
It's been off a long time, and realistically, you want him to play 3 out of the 5 remaining. You got a back-to-back scenario this weekend and a back-to-back-to-back scenario, so you can't expect him to play 4 out of 5. So ideally, he plays 3 out of 5, and it'll be good. I think he's been our star all year and our MVP, and I know we've had a lot of great players, but we miss Flo, and the biggest thing is that we get him back healthy and in the best shape that we possibly can for the playoffs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Was it too early to consider this a first-round playoff preview?
No. Not at all. It's not too early. It's more than likely.
Now, can you put your finger on the difference between 2024 and 2025 for your team? Wait. Ever since the calendar changed, something's happened. Any idea?
It's the same group of guys. And it's a mentality, that we've taken in. And, it's team first versus me first. I think that's something that comes into games. And we had a lot of success, and sometimes the me first comes in. And that's not going to get you anything. It's always been team success will bring individual success. And that's when I talk about a mentality. I think that's when we're a team first mentality, like we were against the London Knights, we can achieve anything. And sometimes I think our own selfish tendencies get in the way. But it's tough to put a blanket over it. We've lost games at an unprecedented rate, and we're trying to get out of this thing. So, every single day we come to work trying to do our best.
Good, thanks.
Thanks, Bern.
Coach, was
Aerosmith and Scott just mostly to get the other guys some time, or was that them needing to see a game from a different lens tonight?
No, it's to watch her in hot list. Haven't played for an extended period of time. We need to sit somebody, so we started with Aerosmith and Blair Scott.
Speaking of that line tonight, I thought Hotless, Gallianov, and Levin really gave you some energy tonight. When Gallianov, I thought the last 3 games have been maybe his best stretch of the season when he's forechecking and when he's getting involved in every aspect of the game. I thought your fourth line played really well tonight.
Yeah, but I also agree. I mean, Charlie Hotless is effective with the minutes that he was given. I thought he had a couple chances, and I mean, you want to fight for him because his character, right? He's a great human being, a great kid that gives you everything you got. So you want to fight for somebody like that, and no matter what the circumstance, whether he does or he doesn't play, he's the same person. So, that's something that the coach takes notice of, and you want to reward him when the opportunity was. So I think, he played over 10 minutes tonight, got a season high, and, it's good that you recognize him because he made a difference out on the ice. And you take with the good, the bad. You have to put up with the mistakes at the same time here too, but it's the only way he's going to learn.
Right, and I thought the first 40 minutes, like you said, you were right up with them. I mean, you had a 2-1 lead in this game. It was 3-2 after 2, and then their horses, pun intended, took over in the third period. What's the message in there, kind of showing them that that's a learning experience of what hopefully you guys will be in a year or two, going up against a team like that that they can kind of learn from that experience of what it's like to play a 60-minute game like that?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail. I was going to say, like, we played 40 minutes really good.
Yep.
It was a really bad 20-minute period at the end. They played 60 minutes the exact same way. They were committed. And eventually, when you have an older team that's ready to win and ready to go on, that's something that you're going to eventually get. They waited for their opportunity and they buried when they got it. And for us, we sometimes we try to put the cart before the horse and play 2 out of 3 periods. But in order to have success with where we're at, we need to make sure that we're playing 60 minutes the same way every single time. And we didn't do that tonight.
Lastly, I thought Ethan Zada tonight, it seems like whenever he's got a fire, or it seemed like him and Eliason were getting into it a lot there tonight. It seems like when he has that little bit of juice and spunk, it brings out the best in his play in all aspects, and he was able to score a goal tonight. Talk about number 12 there, being engaged and keeping you guys afloat there.
Yeah, I mean, what have we played? 63 games so far this season already. I think Ethan Zada has played almost every single one the exact same way. I mean, that's who he is. That's what his character is, and over the course of the season, that's how you do, or that's how everybody knows him to be. That is Ethan Zada day in and day out. He's a workman's-like guy. He gives you 100% honest effort. It's good to see him get rewarded, but when you get bumps and engage into a game, it's easier to be into it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
There was IceDogs head coach Ben Boudreau on the Wild Bills auto repair postgame. Cam, obviously number 1 takeaway there. Owen Flores is going to be back in the net. Wants him to get 3 of the last 5 games. That's great news for the IceDogs getting, their MVP this season. On more nights than not, back in the lineup. But I'll let you kind of go ahead with your takeaways.
No, absolutely. I think getting him back is going to be massive for the team. And again, you've got those 2 games against Ottawa and North Bay, and those are get-right games. Those are games that you should beat that opponent. And too often over the last back half of the season, we haven't beaten the teams that we needed to beat. And regardless of who we go up against, you just need some wins to remember what it's like to win. But I do want to point out that I'm glad that he feels the same. That definitely Gallianov, I think a disappointing season from expectations, because I think he exceeded expectations last season as a rookie and just didn't have that offensive flair and was really trying to find his game, it seemed like, for the majority of this season. But the last few games, he has been the agitator around the nets, a couple of big goals, and really being more confident with the puck as opposed to just kind of floating. And I thought that I reciprocate the same feelings that head coach Ben Boudreau has, is that he has definitely played his best stretch of games, and it's important because having a player like him in the bottom 6 is going to be big.
And he knows that this is basically a preview of what we're going to see in the first round.
Exactly. That last game will be very interesting to see who gets played, and not only that, there'll be a tone set regardless. You can only bench as many, a few people, right? Like a few guys. Like, so I doubt that we see Kevin come out of the lineup. Like, there's a lot of guys on the IceDogs that are dogs. They don't want to come out. So it'll be interesting to see who they put down or sit down. I'm assuming it would be maybe the injury guys. Maybe Acidorian and Paris, just to make sure that that they don't aggravate anything. But That being said, it's a massive final game, and then potentially 8 in a row. And again, in the OHL, you got teenagers. Like, they're not going to like each other. It's a lot different than the NHL because you just got a lot more of emotion, I feel, to be honest with you. Like, when it comes to player versus player, you got teenagers.
Gabe Eliason isn't a fan favorite with the IceDogs bench, I'll say that.
I'll be honest with you, I don't like seeing Gabriel Eliason either. So I'm waiting to see how he's dealt with, because he was barking a lot and does not seem to want to reciprocate the feelings that Zada was giving him. So it'll be interesting again to see how the season goes. There's a lot of willing combatants on the IceDogs.
And Brody loves getting into it with his former guys
Blair
too.
Scott,
who wasn't in the lineup
exactly.
Tonight, yep. Well, before we get out of here, we'll put Cam on the spot, as always, with our stick tab of the game, brought to you by Hockey Stick Man, Pro Stock Hockey Sticks for major junior teams, right up to the NHL teams for half the retail price. A stress-free shopping experience from start to finish. HockeyStickMan.ca to join their mission in saving hockey families money. Cam, who's your player of the game for the IceDogs tonight?
It'll be Gallianov. Again, I think that he's been noticeable, and again, not just on the forecheck. I think for a majority of the season, he's just been kind of floating around the play during his shifts, and that really hasn't been the case over the last little while. He's really come on strong, and I think that once the entire roster is set back healthy and in the lineup, that he could be a real impact to going up against other fourth lines and third lines. So love to see that from Gallianov.
An honorable mention?
Honorable mention is a tough game because I'm trying to not take Kevin has played really well,
and he's not 100%.
Yeah, and but he's still leading by example in that sense, right? He's quietly had points in 11 of 12 games. So.
Yep. So our next broadcast will be following this Sunday's game against the Brampton Steelheads. They're in Erie on Saturday night, so they've got a quick turnaround after a 7 p.m. game and then a Sunday afternoon game here at the Meridian Centre on Sunday. So, Cam, hopefully they can come off another strong effort against Erie, which is one of the teams they've played the best this season, before playing that very hot Brampton team who did lose to Sudbury, I think, tonight.
Yeah, again, I think all these games now are just kind of, let's just see a win. So, big matchup this weekend. Flores is back, and we've only got 5 games remaining until we get our first playoff experience since 2018.
That's going to wrap up another IceDogs game recap right here on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in all 4 of their great Niagara region locations. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in live on our YouTube channel and those listening the next day in your favorite on-demand audio platform. For Cam Halbert, my name is Brandon Caputo. Barrie Colts 7, Niagara IceDogs 4 in front of 3,878 here at the Meridian Centre. So until we talk to you next Sunday, that's going to be it, and we'll talk to you again very soon.